Hello, my name is Elisa Adams, and I'm the Supervising Coordinator for Sonoma County Library's Adult Literacy Programs. I'm going to be going over key planning elements for you in this section of the course. And I'm delighted that you're considering an anthology for your program and looking for effective practices. I think that you will discover that collecting, producing, and sharing an anthology of learner writings will be a deeply rewarding experience for everyone involved. And starting off with a good plan in place will help you along that path. Here are the planning elements that I will be introducing. These are the areas crucial to consider as you begin an anthology project. First, we'll explore having or not having a theme for your anthology, then budget and printing capacity decisions, followed by forming a strategic distribution plan for the final book, and then Chelsea Egley will walk you through creating a project timeline. So first off, you'll need to decide if you will build your anthology around a specific theme or opt to include writing submissions on a wide variety of topics. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to themes. The choice is yours. However, it is one of the very first planning decisions to make. Your how-to guide lists 4 themes other programs have used in case you'd like to give any of those a try. And later in section 4 of our course, we've provided a video of our course panelists discussing different approaches that they've taken, including building enthusiasm around a specific defined theme, opting to use a broad theme to encompass diverse learner backgrounds and experiences, and implementing practices that allow programs to successfully build an anthology without a theme. After you decide whether or not to work around a central theme, you'll need to build a project budget and determine your funding. First, find out what your existing and potential funding sources might be. Perhaps you'll discover that you already have some available funding for your anthology from an existing library budget, from an allowable grant source, from a friends or foundation group. And you'll also want to decide if you will recruit for local sponsors that you can then acknowledge in the book. To come up with an accurate budget, list the project skills and services that will be required, and then find out what you'll need to pay for them. Perhaps you'll discover that you already have graphic or layout design or printing resources available either on your existing staff team or within your library system. But if not, be sure to factor these expenses into your budget and obtain any quotes from outside vendors to accurately determine the costs that will need to be covered in these areas. Let's take a look at some examples. So here's a budget comparison of 2 anthologies from Sonoma County Library's Adult Literacy Program. The book on the left was created in 2016, and the cost was under $1,200 based on the elements listed in the left column. The book on the right was a special anthology edition created in 2021 with a total cost in the $10,000 range. In your how-to guide, you'll see key differences in these 2 anthology budget examples, but worth highlighting now are the impact on costs when you choose color printing throughout a book to include color photographs inside and on the cover of your anthology, when you increase the final number of books ordered significantly, and whether or not you choose a hard or soft cover, and your final finished size. These and other printing decisions will have a big impact on your budget. You'll want to consider sponsors, especially if you could use some additional funding for your project. Some companies, organizations, or community partners might contribute if they are asked. And if they do, remember you'll want to make sure to thank them in the book and also at any events which you plan around distribution. Which brings us to our very next planning element. When to distribute your anthology. As you take this planning step, be sure to look for any opportunities to time distribution events and related press releases in a way that can also support efforts or strategic initiatives going on in your own program, at your library, in your community, or even nationally to further an important issue, like literacy in the example cited on this slide. Where will the distribution of anthologies take place? Will you plan an event or a series of events to distribute them? You and your planning team may come up with many wonderful distribution locations and ideas. Some to consider include at your speaking and outreach events, and many libraries include program anthologies in their library and local author collections for easy checkout and sharing with an entire community. And don't overlook the opportunity to share your anthology electronically and feature it on your program webpage and in your own literacy resource collection. Finally, with regard to distribution, who will receive a copy? This decision regarding the number of books to be printed and distributed ties directly into building your budget. Most programs provide a copy of the anthology to all contributors, including learners, tutors, and featured partners, as well as library administrators, commission members, donors and sponsors, and any other program and community stakeholder. After you know your basic list of who will receive an anthology, open up your discussion to determine if you'd like to order any additional number of copies to have on hand for future distribution, or whether or not your program wants to set up a print-on-demand service where copies can be made available for sale. Again, there's no right on wrong or wrong. Ultimately, your decision to arrive at what works best for your anthology project will serve you best. So we've covered quite a few key planning elements, and next, Chelsea will discuss creating a timeline for your anthology project.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Egley. I'll be taking you through timeline. So once you've had a chance to clarify your goals, answer different planning questions, it's time to make a timeline using a backward buildup technique. You're going to want to start with the launch date and work backwards, indicating key deadlines along the way. Here we can see the different broad strokes of this. We have 6 different moments on this timeline, and they range from February all the way to September. These are just examples. You may want to adjust yours, especially if it's your first time. So for a launch date, you want to be strategic. Maybe this can tie in with a community event. Maybe it could be a library day, literacy day. We chose September 8th, the International Literacy Day, for our sample here. For the printing time, you're going to want to be speaking with the printer even in advance of this project or before you get started. So you'll want to ask the printer how much time he or she will need to get your books printed. If it's 2 weeks, you'll want to add a buffer of 3 weeks. If it's 3 weeks, add a buffer of 4 weeks. So you'll want to set the date that you need to send your item to the printer so that it can be received in time. For us, we said sending it to the printer by August 11th gives a 3-week window to have the books before our launch date of September 8th. Now for design time, this part's kind of fun. This is when you get to take everything that's been brought in and you're going to want to give yourself 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks to work on this design. Especially if you're working with an outside designer, there'll be a bit more back and forth, but this will be completing the layout, graphics, the front and back, the colophon page in the front with all the information, especially if you'll be getting an ISBN number or copyrighting your material, you'll want to complete some or add in some extra time for that. You'll also want to give time for a final edit and a final proofreading. Submission deadline is when you're going to be announcing and telling to your program by what time you need everything in. We want to give maybe a 7 to 10 day grace period for late entries. So for the submission deadline, I would suggest that you make that 10 days prior to when you start your designing. Now the program announcement, this is going to be working backwards, maybe another 5 to 6 months in advance of the submission deadline. This is when you're going to be giving time for tutors and learners to write, to understand the project, to get some buy-in, to promote it, put it in front of their eyes. And this is also when you can put workshops have host workshops, things like that. So for us, we're putting in February 10th of our announcement date, which would give us about 5 to 6 months. This might sound like a lot of work. Ultimately, it is, and it can be. This timeline will help you to be prepared for that. It also helps to have a team. So in order to do all of this work, you will want to have a great team. Maybe certain people will do multiple roles. But for example, you're going to need a graphic designer, you'll want an editor, a project manager to see the big picture, somebody who can lay out the format, proofreaders, and then somebody who could write a foreword or the introduction. So you'll want a variety of people on your team, and we'll be discussing that in the next video. Thank you.